Hello student, today we are going to discuss about the withdrawal reflex. So the withdrawal reflex is typical polysynaptic reflex that occurs in the response to the usually painful stimulation of the skin or subcutaneous tissue and muscle. The response is flexor muscle contraction and inhibition of extensor muscle, so that the body part stimulated is flexed and withdrawn from the stimulus. So when the strong stimulus is applied to the limb, the response includes not only the flexion and withdrawal of that limb but also extension of the opposite limb. So जब strong stimulus दिया limb को, तो that response includes not only the flexion and withdrawal of the limb but extension of the opposite limb, that is known as cross extensor response, which is a part of the withdrawal reflex. So withdrawal reflex can be asked as a short note. So importance of the withdrawal reflex. Sherrington pointed out survival value of withdrawal reflex. Flexion of the stimulated limbs get it away from the source of the irritation, and extension of the other limb supports the body. So this is the figure of the withdrawal reflex. In case you can see flexor reflex and cross extensor reflex. So when you apply the painful stimulus from at the hand, then bicep muscle is contracted, and opposite muscle relax, reciprocal inhibition, polysynaptic circuit is there, inhibited, cross extensor reflex occur. So many of these characteristics of polysynaptic reflex can be demonstrated by this studying the withdrawal reflex. A weak noxious stimulus to one foot evokes a minimal flexor response. Strong stimuli produce great and great flexion. Strong stimulus produce great and great flexion as the stimulus irradiate to more and more motor neuron pool supplying the muscles of the limb. Strong stimuli also cause the more prolonged response. A weak stimulus causes one quick flexion movement. Strong stimulus cause prolonged flexion and sometimes a series of flexion movements. The prolonged response is due to the prolonged repeated firing of the motor neurons, that is known as after discharge, and it is due to continued bombardment of these motor neurons by impulse arriving by complicated and circuitous polysynaptic pathways. Strong stimulus produce more prolonged response and weak stimulus produce quick flexion movement. Strong stimulus cause prolonged flexion and series of flexion movement. This prolonged response is due to prolonged repeated firing of the motor neurons, that is known as after discharge. It's due to continued bombardment of motor neurons by impulse arriving by complicated and circuitous polysynaptic pathways. So this complete the withdrawal reflex.